Good morning everybody, this is Lara with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP, and welcome to all the new subscribers from the CoinsKid crew. Thank you again very much to CoinsKid for a shout out, that's really helpful. I hope you find this really useful. I'm trying to be as objective and impartial as I can. That's my job. I am invested in these markets, which is a big reason why I'm analysing them every day, and I'm sharing that with you. If you're new to this channel, please do subscribe so you don't lose it. You're going to get my 16 years experience, 11 of those as a chartered market technician for free on these markets Monday to Friday. Let's have a look at how rectangles work. Rectangles are either continuation or reversal patterns, but most often, particularly at highs, continuation patterns. So for that reason, I am going to expect from this rectangle that Bitcoin's in most likely an upward breakout. This is from Kirkpatrick and Dahlquist. And I want to draw your attention to this box here. Edwards and McGee claim that rectangles are more often continuation patterns, but as a reversal pattern, they occur more frequently at bottoms. That's why Bulkowski mostly found upward breakouts of rectangle patterns. An upward breakout, however, should never be assumed. 2 out of 3 rectangles are continuation patterns. Rectangles have the bad habit of producing false breakouts. So this rectangle is 66% or 2/3 likely to be a continuation pattern, so the angle of entry was up, the angle of exit should be up most likely, particularly as it's occurring near a top and not a bottom. If it was near a bottom, then we might see an upward breakout as less likely. We have to be alert for a false breakout. But if we do see an upward breakout and then price return quite quickly within the pattern, that may be an indication of the direction of the eventual breakout. So because of the pattern, I'm expecting it's most likely we're going to see an upward breakout, but we'll get through some technicals which suggest it may most likely be a downward breakout. So there is still that risk to be aware of. If we do see a downward breakout, I expect it'll be relatively short-lived and find support about 55,000. The bigger picture for Bitcoin, particularly at the monthly time frame, remains extremely bullish. And back here, it did have a technical upward breakout to new all-time highs at all time frames with push from volume. So that's technically extremely significant. Expect eventually higher prices this year for Bitcoin by a very, very wide margin. The rectangle is delineated by resistance in a zone from 71,500 to 73,100 with support at 60,700. We need to see a clear break above or below those areas with push from volume for an upward breakout to have confidence that the next trend has begun and what direction that's going to be in. I have a theory, and I've never seen this in any technical analysis book, but it's my theory that during a consolidation, look to where volume is strongest, and here within the rectangle, volume is strongest on downward sessions. I have a theory that that suggests more push from bears than bulls, and it may suggest the eventual direction of the breakout may be down. Like price, on balance volume is also within a consolidation range. The resistance line has 4 or 5 tests, whether or not you count that as a test. The support line now has 4 tests, so there's some reasonable technical significance. They're both close to horizontal and they're both now fairly long held. We'll look to see if on balance volume breaks out before price, giving us advance warning of a direction and an imminent breakout for price. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't, and it breaks out with price, and if it does that, it gives us more confidence in a breakout from price. And as this is a rectangle which often has false breakouts, if we can get confidence from on-balance volume, that will add to the likelihood the breakout may not be false. ADX tells us there's a downward trend. This suggests a downward breakout. This is one of the technical indicators I'm a bit concerned about at the moment for Bitcoin for the short term. ATR showed some increase as we recently saw some downward movement. This also is one of the indicators I'm giving cause for concern. This suggests there's more strength to the downside within this rectangle, suggesting we may see a downward breakout. My Elliott Wave count for Ethereum expects that this pullback is a second wave correction at minute degree, subdividing as a zigzag A, B, C, zigzag subdivide 5, 3, 5. So we should expect Minuet Wave C to be a 5-wave motive structure. It's obviously not a diagonal, there's no overlapping here, but it looks like a more common impulse. So that's labelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 could be continuing sideways today as a triangle, but the upper edge of it at this point, I'll just label potentially a complete structure here. If 4 continues any higher, it may not move into one price territory above 3413.05. If we get a new high above that point prior to a new low, what that tells us is C was actually complete at this low, which means that the pullback for 2 would be complete at this low and would be on the next wave up. The next wave up for Ethereum is expected to be a third wave at minute, minor, intermediate, primary and cycle degree. That's 5 degrees. This is an extremely bullish wave count for Ethereum. Remember, I keep saying price doesn't move in a straight line. There will be consolidations and pullbacks along the way, and the job is to not panic when that happens. It is a normal, to be expected part of a healthy bullish market. I'll be looking at this short-term Elliott Wave structure to give us an indication of whether or not the correction is complete. If we do see one more low, look for final support at the lower edge of this channel. So if we do see another low for Ethereum, it would complete the structure and it wouldn't be expected to be by much. There's no rectangle for Ethereum because this pullback has a downward bias, currently finding support about 3050. If that is broken, next support at 2720. This does look corrective though. This looks like a counter trend movement. It's really difficult to tell when these counter trend movements are complete though for crypto, because they do tend to be very weak up off their lows. So we have to be open-minded and flexible, prepare for a little bit more downward movement, but expect overall eventually an upward breakout to new highs above the highs back here. Currently resistance at 3680. Volume was pushing price lower to the last low, and now price is essentially moving sideways with declining volume. This increase in volume could be part of a continuing downward movement. They can have strength in the middle. It could also be the end. They can end with strength. It's impossible to tell which of those two scenarios is unfolding. Today we have another very weak bearish signal from on-balance volume. This suggests a downward breakout to next support at 3050. But this signal is really weak because the trend line that's broken only has the minimum required 2 anchor points you need to draw a line. It's not too long held. It's got a little bit of a slope, so it's got pretty low technical significance. ADX is flat. There's no clear trend for Ethereum. ATR showed a recent increase with some strong downward movement, suggesting more strength to the downside, suggesting we could see another low before this pullback is finally complete. My Elliott Wave count for XRP, I'm going to use the same kind of methodology I outlined for you for Ethereum. This structure for intermediate wave 2 is a double combination. The first structure in the double is a zigzag labelled minor W. The W double is joined by a 3 in the opposite direction labelled X, and the second structure labelled Y is a flat correction. They are labelled A, B, C, and flat subdivide 3, 3, 5, and the minimum required length of B to A is 90%, and this one's 100%, so it's between 90 and 1.05, which indicates a regular flat. For regular flats, wave C is usually about even with A, ending a little bit beyond A, so it certainly could be complete at this last low, but I'm going to label it potentially incomplete. Let's zoom in. Same idea as I showed you for Ethereum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this is 4 and it continues any further, it may not move into one price territory above 0.5688, and so if in the short term we see a new high above this point before we see a new low, then this is how I label it. The impulse could have been complete at this low, and this second wave correction could have been a complicated combination rather than a zigzag complete back here. So this is also possible. It's impossible for me to tell you at this stage which of those two scenarios is going to play out. But what I can tell you is this is a good line in the sand for XRP. If we see a new high above 0.5688, I'd have a little bit of confidence that the pullback may be complete, and a third wave up at multiple degrees may then be underway. So Elliott Wave is going to give us this very specific price point to work with. Technicals for XRP, there was a pennant pattern. The target was 0.4437. That was met and slightly passed. On this big downward candlestick, we've got a bullish long lower wick. We're now seeing some consolidation. This could be the start of a new upward trend, or it could be a small pause before we see one more low for XRP. Finding support currently at 49, fairly technically significant resistance above at 54.55 cents. Price is moving sideways for the last 3 sessions with declining volume. Previous downward movement ended with strong volume. That's a feature of the end of bear markets. It's also the feature of the middle of bearish movements. It's impossible for me to tell you which of those two scenarios is unfolding. We have to be open-minded and flexible and manage risk. The last signal from on-balance volume was a bearish break below support. The result of that signal may now be complete. There's no new signal and no new range from on-balance volume. ADX tells us XRP is in a downward trend. This is a very strong bearish signal from ADX, and so this tells us that the downward movement is likely to continue. But RSI reached oversold. It doesn't tend to do this very often for XRP. If we do see one more low, I'll be looking for some bullish divergence, and if that happens, then I'll have some reasonable confidence the low may be in for XRP. But RSI suggests the low could already be in because it just doesn't often get there to oversold at the daily time frame. And when it does, it's usually associated with sustained lows. For previous downward movement, volume was increasing and range. There was quite a bit of strength in those downward sessions to the last low. This suggests the bears are in charge and they may have further to go. That's it for me today with your technical analysis for these three. I hope everyone's having a lovely day. I'm currently in the Bath, Bristol area for the next few days, and I have to say, England is so beautiful. I'm really enjoying it. I want to have a go at that wave pool in Bristol later this week, so really looking forward to that.